2026 is almost here. Personally, I take my reset/rebrand routine very seriously, and I think you should too. This routine has allowed me to achieve many of my goals these past couple of years that I've implemented it, and it's also helps me become closer to the person that I want to be. Now, this routine is not perfect by any means, and I'm not going to claim that it is. I'm also not going to claim that it's going to fully transform your life, do a full 180, because I don't think that's the objective of it. I think it's just a way to better yourself and work towards your goals. So I'm going to keep it real and document the process that I go through so that hopefully you can pick up some achievable and feasible habits and actions that you can implement before the new year. And it's also a way for me to document my goals and aspirations in a new format, a video format, and then look back on it a year from now. So let's go through it step by step. The first part of my routine is very general. I think that it's something that is implemented in a lot of different cultures. For example, I'm Persian and we do something called a khune tekuni. This is basically a spring cleaning before the Persian New Year in March. So basically I celebrate 2 New Years, and for this one I also implement elements of the other. This is sort of a cleanse and a declutter of your space around you, so cleaning your room, donating clothes that you no longer need or don't suit your style anymore, doing maybe a digital cleanse of computer files you don't need, as well as photos. I also apply this cleanse/declutter/cleaning to my resolutions. We'll talk about that later. Now for the actual resolutions. Back in elementary school, I think many of us were taught about SMART goals. It might have been called something different depending on where you grew up, but SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, and relevant/realistic. I want you to keep this framework in your mind as you're writing down your resolutions. I also want you to keep in the back of your mind the 4 laws of habits that are mentioned in James Clear's Atomic Habits, which I think you should definitely read. And those are to make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. While those are meant for habits, I think they could very easily be applied to resolutions. Now, where do we actually put all these resolutions? You could write them down on paper, but I would lose that within the first month. The best way I found for me is to write them down in Notion. I'll try my best to hopefully include some templates for you down below, just so you can visualize everything that I'm saying. You could directly put it into your own Notion and get started with your resolutions straight away. The next step is to split your resolutions into categories. So I'm gonna pull up the ones that I did last year, and that was in no particular order: career, finance, fitness and health, academics/education, extracurriculars, hobbies/for fun, spiritual, self-development/personal growth, and social/relationships. This year, I think I want to implement a new category, which is knowledge, because I learned that there are certain knowledge-based things that I want to get better at. I want to improve my Farsi and French writing skills, as well as get better at chess. So those are 2 things that I'm adding in. Before filling out those categories, I think it's immensely important to reflect on the past year. I like to use the toggle feature on Notion to do this. I just copy and paste my resolutions from last year, and I go in and I color code them with green if I achieved that resolution, yellow if it's still a work in progress, and red if it didn't end up happening. I also leave a little bit of a comment on each, kind of reflecting on maybe how I felt when I did achieve that resolution, or what steps I'm taking to make the resolution that I highlighted yellow a reality. Also, what went wrong with the resolutions that I didn't achieve. Maybe it's because that doesn't align with what I want anymore. For example, I was really debating whether I should become a dentist and work towards that, but I decided that that's not really the path for me. So taking the DAT, that was something that I didn't do, not because I fell short on my resolution, but because it simply wasn't necessary. So you want to talk about what worked, what didn't work, in terms of maybe your habits, maybe the way you presented yourself, maybe the people you surrounded yourself with, what was good, what wasn't so good, and what you need to change. So basically what you're leaving behind in the old year and what you're bringing with you to the new year. And this is where you can apply that cleansing or decluttering from before, because you want to clear out anything negative and anything that doesn't serve you. For me, an example of a bad habit or something that I'm leaving in 2025 would be waking up super late and not giving myself enough time to properly get ready and eat breakfast, and then starving through my first 2 classes. So that's something that I will leave in the past and work towards amending in the future. An exercise that I think could be very helpful as part of the reflection process, while it is a bit silly, is to write something similar to a diary entry, except it's the better version of yourself, you from like a couple months into 2026. You kind of mention the habits that you have, how your daily schedule looks like, what you're putting your time into, and how you're presenting yourself. I'm not sure where I heard of this. It was probably somewhere on Instagram Reels, but I think it's a great way to kind of visualize what it is that you want for yourself and then go based off of that to write your resolutions. I want to state something very clearly. A very important part of this reflection process should be to celebrate the wins of 2025. I think you can do this by going through your photos and maybe picking out some photos that match up with the previous year's vision board or something that can help you visualize a resolution that you accomplished in the past. I think you and me, as people who are very self-aware and people who are always trying to improve and do better, it's really easy to undermine our accomplishments and see them kind of as just another check off the to-do list and really focus on the negatives and the things that didn't work out. So I think this is a great way to combat that and be able to see that maybe plan A was meant to fail for you to go on plan B, which is ultimately better for you. To do all that, I recommend giving yourself like an hour to just type everything out, or maybe write it out in a journal. Maybe you could go to a nice coffee shop or just take some quiet time at home with a warm drink. And after you're done that, you could actually go in and fill in those resolutions, making sure that they are smart and that they follow the 4 laws of habits that actually stick. After you've done the resolutions, I want you to think of a quote for the year or a mission statement that kind of sums up and ties in elements from your resolutions and kind of sets your intentions for the new year very clearly. You could look on Pinterest for this, or even think of it yourself by writing down adjectives or words that describe the best version of the new year and the best version of yourself. I want you to write this quote slash mission statement slash values that you are bringing into the new year in your Notion, but also on sticky notes, and stick them in places in your room, around the house that you will see often. Now the next step is to make a vision board, everyone's favorite. The quote, I think it helps you visualize to a certain extent, but nothing will get close to actually seeing your resolutions in pictures. So it's time to open up Pinterest or wherever else you want to get your photos. I want you to actually open multiple Canva documents, one with dimensions to fit your laptop, the other for your phone, and if you have an iPad or a tablet, one to fit that. You want to format the same photos, the same vision board into these 3 dimensions so that you could set it as your wallpaper across your entire device ecosystem. I want you to be reminded of these goals and resolutions that you set for yourself every single second of the day. You open your laptop to do work, boom, it's there. You go on your iPad or tablet to take notes, boom, there. You go to check your phone and procrastinate, boom, it's there. And I think that that's really the key of having a vision board. Now, I mentioned making your vision boards digitally because I find that it's much more hassle-free and takes less time. And of course, you could just have it on every device, but it's also really fun to make an actual physical vision board. It's a great arts and crafts activity, and it's one that I've organized a couple of times before at my university. So that can also be something you can organize with your friends and have lots of fun making a vision board that way. The next step is to acquire the resources that you need to achieve what it is you want to achieve. Everything that you just put down in the Notion, in the vision board, etc. For example, you can get a new journal if it's your resolution to start journaling. You can make a digital habit tracker to see your progress, or a budget tracker if you're also guilty of spending way too much money on Uber Eats. I'll try to link some good templates down below. Or maybe you can treat yourself to new running shoes if you want to pick up a new hobby of running in the new year. But understand that so much of what you want to achieve can be done with what you already have. So don't limit yourself and say, I'm only going to start doing blank when I have blank. For example, I could very well put off this new hobby and also resolution of mine of making videos by saying, oh, I'm not ready. I'll only start when I have a camera, or I'll only start when I know how to use the best editing software. You do not need to be or feel 100% ready before you start something. And there it is. You're now completely ready to enter into 2026 with a vision, with intention, and you are so much closer to achieving your resolutions and goals and becoming the person who you want to be. However, you should also come to terms with the fact that all of this won't go perfectly and according to plan, and that is completely okay. Life has its ups and downs. Some periods are harder than others. For example, exam season, most of my habits go out the window. It's not good, and it's something that you and I are going to work on avoiding, but sometimes it's inevitable. While consistency and discipline are things that we should all work towards, and doing all this will help us work towards that, the world is not going to fall apart if you say in here that you're going to work out 3 times a week, and then 1 week comes and you just feel so drained, and maybe you feel sick, or maybe something external happens in your life that you can't control. I believe there are circumstances where you should absolutely give yourself grace. What matters is the big picture. For example, if you were to represent each 365 days as like a pie chart, you want, let's say, 80% of that to be you sticking to your goals and working towards yourself, but that 20% can give way to those external circumstances when things don't go according to plan. Or maybe you just want to be a big back and not eat healthy, or you want to hit a really big rot session after working really hard and studying for an exam. What matters is that overall you're working towards your goals and dreams and the person who you want to become. So with that, let's thank 2025, the year that we are putting behind us, with all its wins and losses, all its ups and downs, the experiences it gave us, the lessons it taught us, and move into the new year 2026 with excitement, openness, and hope. Thank you so much for watching, and Happy New Year.